Hey everybody, welcome back to Your Free TV, and it is Wednesday, hump day here on December 17th, 2025. So glad to be back with you here on the channel on You Are Free TV. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. And I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. We have such an intense day. We have the president speaking tonight. I'll just start by saying thank you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you to Susan for joining monthly with your donation. So appreciate that. And the people who support monthly make it happen. And I'm so, so grateful. And all the wonderful comments that come from all of you about this channel. I so appreciate it, and it keeps me going. So let's jump in. So of course, this video probably won't be enormously long tonight because President Trump will be speaking at 9 o'clock Eastern time. And what's coming out so far, we have people like Tucker Carlson going live on Judge Napolitano's channel, saying that his information is that the Congress has been briefed for war. And we wonder and expect that Trump is going to be speaking, of course, about he's instituted the naval embargo on Venezuela now at this point, that they will be seizing the sanctioned oil carriers that are leaving Venezuela, and that that there is a huge play here on Venezuela and the Maduro regime, which of course was defeated in the last election, but stolen by the same means that they've been stealing our elections here in the USA and 72 other countries for the last 25 years, using the fraud machines. Okay, and what I'm hoping and praying for is that President Trump is also going to be speaking about not just the oil and whatever else, but really speaking about to the nation about what is the election stealing apparatus that stole the 2020 election and the 2022 elections here in the USA, and to place it on Venezuela's door, and Maduro being a huge keeper of that, and using the leverage of them controlling the rights to the Smartmatic software that continues to fuel the stolen elections. And that's what we're praying for. So this is huge, and we're you know, as I said, I won't do a super long video. We want to hear what Trump's going to say, and of course I'll be reporting on that tomorrow. But it is very intense, and I would assume that as Trump is speaking tonight, it will mean that there already is a kickoff on whatever their operations are there in Venezuela, whether it will be land strikes, you know, movement of special operations within the country, etc. So very important and intense. This all happening as, of course, Chile just elected a populist right president, you know, defeating the machines there, defeating it with a huge, overwhelming support for Jose Antonio Kast, okay, who's already, as president-elect, is talking about that he will immediately create what he's calling a regional humanitarian corridor to basically expel all of the illegal migrants out of Chile, which have caused massive, you know, the same thing in Chile has been going on there for the last several years. So it's very exciting what's going on in Chile. And as we pray for you know, what could happen here tonight, there's so much else going on here, right? As we just had the weekend of assassinations, right? The murdery weekend. And we look at Ella Cook and the debacle that is becoming a Charlie Kirk style cover-up of what happened with the targeting of Ella Cook at the Brown University shooting. It's now come out. We have people like Jack Posobiec coming out and saying that he was in meetings in Washington today, where is apparently testimony of one of the students who was wounded at this economics seminar where Ella Cook was at Brown University, where she was apparently shot point blank in the face by this shooter, and then riddled with bullets. and that it was very clear that she was directly targeted according to this wounded student, and a high capacity rifle was used. And it's very interesting. There's a strange little post going up online saying that Ella Cook is not a TPUSA member. Strange, odd, considering that they have a TPUSA. I'm just pointing this out. It's just interesting facts. Chapter at the school, and that Ella Cook was actually a nationally known young Republican at her young age, having conversations and meetings with some of the, kind of top people out there in the movement. And very interesting about this woman from Alabama, targeted and assassinated. And as we look at all of this and the cover up going on at Brown, and they're meeting all the presidents of the universities in Providence, getting together to basically try to do these, these gun laws in Rhode Island, of course, is what they want to do. There's a couple other school shooting members that have been, members, people who have survived school shootings, like at Parkland, etc., making the rounds on mainstream media, who were there, okay, who just happened to be there, that they're students at Brown, and they were there during this during this massive shoot up. And the hugely people at the school saying, we very clearly live in a surveillance state here at Brown. And so the total absence of footage, it reeks very much of the UVU situation of the very bad depictions, non-availability of video footage, and of course the scrubbing of Mustafa Karvush, or Kavuch, Mustafa Kavuch, a Brown University staffer, part of the Islamic Society of Brown, scrubbing all of his credentials, removed from everything pro-Palestinian guy. And they're scrubbing everything and saying, can't talk about these things. And this also cover up of what was yelled or said, and for entertainment purposes only, when everybody's wanting it to be Allahu Akbar, it very clearly could have been Ella Cook, to identify her, and because the sounding is a little bit the same there with the beginning. So it'll be very interesting to see as this goes down. And so this is all happening as we're seeing so much happening on the front here of the military, where, of course, the NDAA passed, and the Senate, Congress threatening to suspend Hegseth's military budget based on these photos of the shot down, the blown up boat and the survivors, right? As they talk about them on the left side of Congress. That's all going on but what this really is about, what they're really after, is we have Hegseth coming out very clearly that he is going to be basically gutting CENTCOM, okay, and these co-combatant bases across the board, which is really huge, because they have enormous amount of they're bigger than the Pentagon. Okay, what they've built out in the last 25 years since 9/11 has been just massive amounts of military bureaucracy, and all the paper play, all the money, the Halliburton style, just all the money coming in to support these co command centers. And let me see if I can read a little bit more about that, because I found it very interesting. That we have Hegseth saying that he's consolidating these command centers and going to bring them down from 6 to 3, right? And this gets into General Carrillo, I've been talking about for months and months on this channel, and what's going on with CENTCOM, and its huge deep state, massive stealing of trillions of our taxpayer dollars, but also the creation of all of these Muslim, whether it's ISIS, whatever, all of the goings on of the CIA in our deep state military. And so very, very interesting to watch all of this as we continue. We've got what Hegseth is saying is that they have EUCOM to do with Ukraine. There are all these combatant commands that have doubled in size, and they call them COCOMs. He's going to be basically bringing those down, bringing them smaller, cutting down CENTCOM, which is the huge, massive money and weapons out of control situation in the Middle East. So we can definitely assume that all of this here is involved. And as we kind of swing over and look over with Ukraine, we have more huge news coming out of there, as of course the Witkoff, Kushner, etc. team there in Germany, where we have Merz out of Germany basically saying he wants German troops, NATO German troops on the ground in Ukraine, and these security guarantees that were kind of leaked and flouted that this is going to be part of this settlement. And it has not been confirmed at all, but just basically kind of leaked that this is being talked about. This is as while Russia is now, Putin said that they're going to finish their objectives in Ukraine. Meanwhile, okay, as nothing is getting completed, but a lot of things are getting done here. We're actually seeing that the Russians here in the winter are actually going horseback. They're going horseback like full, Russian Cossack style, even though the Cossacks were more the Ukrainian, out of Ukraine, but that was Russia back then. But basically, they're riding horses to maneuver away from the drone attacks, and so it's very intense to watch how this is all playing out. As today, we're getting that the U.S. has successfully pressured Europe, and this is huge. Is what I've been talking about in these last few videos. That the with everything that happened with Europe, basically, going full Article 122, I believe it is, bringing that in to override Hungary and Slovakia from basically stealing the Russian assets out of Euroclear for um, for to build this war chest, wanting to create a massive, Death Star for the empire there in Ukraine, of a huge military ammunitions and weapons production facility there, for their one world government scenario, World War III scenario. Well, what we get here is that the U.S. has pushed back hugely on this, and we have Donald Tusk, the hugely corrupt Prime Minister of Poland, coming out and basically saying the USA is forcing us to scrap this plan of confiscating the 250 billion euros of Russian assets to fund the Ukraine war machine, even though they had gone and done the Article 122 move the other day that has basically, gone contrary to what they would have hoped, which was, of course, to just keep their power and keep powering on. But they are contributing to this destabilization of the EU and important countries in the EU. And so Hungary, we get Orban coming back after that that vote, that majority vote that took away what was the unanimous consent that is usually required in the EU Commission, taking that away. And Hungary, Orban says, knowing this, we will not cooperate with the EU on everything now. Now that they've done this and taken away our vote, taken away our will, our power over our own nation within the EU, we will not, we're not going to cooperate automatically now. So this is all moving forward very, very interestingly. And we're seeing that the security guarantees that were supposedly agreed to have not gone anywhere. So all very, very interesting at the same time. There's a huge economic uh, uh, one of the ratings outfits out there that rates the different banks, et cetera, the Fitch ratings. The Fitch ratings also yesterday put a huge slap on Euroclear Bank right before they were about to go ahead with the EU's, you know, um, totalitarian vote against EU countries who didn't want this. They slapped Euroclear Bank with a rating watch negative, okay, which is really bad, and it's what the European Central Bank warned about, and what Belgium warned about, et cetera, where Euroclear is placed, where these Russian assets are housed. They basically, said that to do with the EU's recklessness in this Russian asset confiscation, which it puts a whole huge, massive, um, uh, uh, you know, uh, demolition on the euro, and so that has hugely, it's been a huge thing as well, and so that all happened today. So very, very interesting, all of this going down, and it's a very, you know it's going down. It's going down. The Ukraine thing being handled and contained with the EU's real push for this World War III, and Merz, especially in Germany, pushing for NATO German troops on the ground. Good luck finding them, because AfD is completely taking over. The Alternative for Deutschland party, even though they keep trying to kill off all the members, is taking over Germany, and so these people are losing. Okay, the EU is losing its, hundreds years control, and certainly its 100-year plan over here to demolish the USA, create the one world government. It is slowing down, and this is also what's happening here. Is Trump suspended with the UK in the last couple days, suspended the tech prosperity deal. Remember, they all got together at Chequers, and Trump met with the king and the Prince William, whom he loves, and all of that. Well, remember, all the tech bros were there too, right? And they did this huge tech prosperity deal. We were like, huh. Well, basically, what we get here is Trump suspending that deal. This having to do, of course, with the 140 million euro fine that the EU is trying to slap on Elon Musk to do with his blue check marks, etc. I've discussed it already, but basically, the tech prosperity deal has been suspended, and they're saying this is over the online safety bill to do with censorship regulations, the attack on the tech companies here. This is a $31 billion deal. And basically, they're saying that, there's the censorship is exploding, the people's rights are being totally diminished in the UK, and so we're suspending this deal. And that is huge, because in the UK now, in the last couple of days, and this is even after the shoot up in Australia, which, you know, real people dead, and also real strange players present there. Just the whole thing is awful. And they're pushing, of course, more of these massive censorship laws to do, especially with Islam and also anti-Semitism. Okay, all of this under this guise. And basically, in the UK, they're passing new Sharia law level blasphemy laws, which already kind of exist, but they're going to be extending them. While the British people are constantly raped, attacked, murdered, killed, all their rights taken and destroyed, they're passing new massive hate speech laws about Islamophobia. And it's not a phobia, it is a fight to get the people who will not assimilate into your culture out of your country. And we're seeing this happening, and Trump is considering doing what is a sort of considered the Swiss model, the Switzerland model, of there being the same kind of immigration laws here in the US. The mandatory Swiss model. Is very hard to become a Swiss citizen. Okay, you got to jump through hoops, and it takes a long time, and basically you have to 100% assimilate in Switzerland. No bringing in your politics, your ideas, your ideology. 100% assimilation, and zero welfare, zero taxing on the state at all whatsoever. And that's said to be what Trump is going to be adopting here as we move forward. So very, very incredible, everything that's going down. And for people who are worried about the Venezuela war machine, okay, no, we've been at war. They've been attacking us, almost destroying our country, And the fighting back against the war upon us is what's happening in a country ruled by a dictator who stole the election, jailed thousands and thousands of people, and the people themselves have been had their treasure and lives and food and everything stolen over the last 25 years. And so it's important to understand that this is the helping to stop. It's everything we fought for, okay, about the stolen elections, the globalists, the attempt to destroy America. And so this moving forward is very interesting. And also interesting, as I said the other day, was coming. Bongino did hand his resignation. Dan Bongino, assistant director of the FBI, did hand his resignation to President Trump today. It was delivered and he is out. Okay, so that's over for Dan Bongino, getting out of what I'm assuming is the massive pit of corruption that he doesn't want to be part of. And I think this is Bailey, former AG of Missouri, who will be coming in to take over his position. That hasn't been announced yet, but it seems to be very, very likely. And we also had Jared Isaacson. This is Elon Musk's pick for NASA, now confirmed, which means a huge focus, of course, on SpaceX and these manned missions to the moon, etc., going forward. So that happened, that Jared Isaacson was confirmed as the director of NASA. And there's lots of squirrels in there, but I'll get to that in another video. Don't have time today. And so we also have some very important, I believe, health HHS RFK Jr. wins that are pretty exciting. The CDC did approve today to end, and it was voted on. Of course, we heard last week or 2 weeks ago that the Hep B vaccine, cancer shot, will not be approved for babies. So this is fantastic. And we also have the Senate approving the HHS bill ending outdated animal testing. Okay, so getting rid of this decades and decades long, really since before World War II, long use of animal experimentation. Not that they won't use any animals, but they're none of this willy-nilly just do your Fauci beagle experiments. Okay, this is all getting done, and the Senate has passed it. We need the House to pass it. So I want to ask you to please 202-225-3121, 202-225-3121, or your billblasterapp.com to shout out to the House to pass this legislation, because that is very exciting, very important. We're also had a great win when we had Harvey Risch, who is a huge proponent of ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, appointed as the chair of the president's cancer panel. The president's cancer panel will be headed by this man, Harvey Risch, and so that seems very exciting as well, for sure, 100%. And then, of course, they're flouting now a new massive flu, deadly flu that is going everywhere, to the point where we had Kansas close their schools early because people are sick. The subclade K variant, H3N2, right? So another one of these um, uh, viruses that they're now pushing flu shots for, which absolutely have no 000 effect against this new subclade K variant. They obviously don't have those flu shots for it, and so don't do it, in my opinion, okay, for entertainment purposes only. There is no there. And so, moving on from there, as I said, I'm going to keep it short tonight because I really do want, to get this out and have us get ready for the video. So I'll just mention a few more things here before I go. We have, of course, with Rob Reiner, Nick Reiner is now being charged with the murder of his parents. Video released of him going to a gas station store and buying alcohol, and this seems to be before the murders. But the strange coinky dink, it is such a strange coinky dink, that the Obamas were going to meet Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner that evening, on Sunday evening. They were planning all to have a little get together, and then they're dead. Okay, it's just, that's massive. That's massive right there. Okay, that's massive right there. Interesting, as we're having, the Netflix, the Paramount, excuse me, the Paramount versus Warner Brothers feud here on a huge purchase on kind of the Netflix crowd versus the CBS crowd. It's an interesting, huge, massive, billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars situation. But a lot has come out. People like Svetlana Lakova, who they tried to frame for this Russia um, uh, gate stuff to do with Trump. Um, she's put out videos of Rob Reiner with Brennan and Clapper, specifically right there together, in there conspiring on the Russia collusion plan. So much of it, bizarre things about Al Franken's roast of Rob Reiner back in 2000 when, and Rob Reiner is, of course, he went to Epstein Island. He is one of those guys. We know this. And Al Franken, in this roast of Rob Reiner back then, was basically making these awful, awful supposed jokes, basically talking about Carl Reiner, his father, raping him, the Rob Reiner, as a child, and bringing his Hollywood's friends over to do so as well. Uh, Very, very intense, very, very intense what's going on. So, talking about Hollywood executives coming over. And so we don't know what Nick Reiner, what might have went through. And it's not about uh, any excuses for anything, but we do know that Nick Reiner now has obtained Alan Jackson as his lawyer. And Alan Jackson is the one who represented Kevin Spacey and Weinstein and all these others. So this feels like another one of those situations. Okay, it'll be interesting to find out what went down, but it honestly, yeah, it'll be interesting to find out what went down. Okay, and so I'm going to be rounding it up there. There's a lot more going on. We're waiting to hear what went down with MTG's Protect the Children's Innocence Act, HR 3492. There was a vote today, I understand, and Chip Roy was trying to amend the bill to protect sanctuary states. Basically, he's on the rules committee, and this would, in the Children's Protection Act, is just make it a felony, a criminal felony, prison sentence to operate, to do trans surgeries on kids, including what are to do with, injecting them with gender bending chemicals and castrating chemicals, as well as actual castrations or mastectomies, etc. And that Chip Roy came in basically trying to lessen the power, the federal power of this act. So, waiting to hear what's going down there with a final vote, and I'll let you know tomorrow. So, okay, and I'll just maybe close with this interesting case of the MIT professor who was just murdered. It's just murders after murders all week. MIT professor shot at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. He's from Portugal, Nuno F. Gomez Loureiro, 47. He was a nuclear science and engineering professor, but director of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center, which is pretty big deal. MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center is one of the largest MIT labs. 250 researchers would have been under him, researchers and staff, plus a 250,000 square foot lab. Massive, massive, huge. Okay, at MIT, one of the biggest labs there, dealing with nuclear plasma science and fusion. So this is huge when we look at all of it. And the fusion part is very interesting. Okay, as we're going into all of this to do with with what's going on with the energy race and the war here around energy. So he was I believe, put as director of that lab since 2022, and now he has been murdered there in Massachusetts. So I'm sure a lot more to come about that, and we'll continue on. And we also have Mike Pence cited as having dinner with Chief Justice John Roberts, and we know what's all going down there. And also, as Trump is getting ready to speak tonight as well, he has also designated in Colombia the Del Golfo clan, meaning the Gulf clan, as a terrorist group. And so this is how it's going down, and we're going to see what happens here. We of course had Jack Smith on the Hill today, having to defend his position of the raids at Mar-a-Lago, and Jack Smith, who brought this country through 2 years of torture with the the ongoing impeachments of Trump, the raid in Mar-a-Lago, going with the J6 committee, etc., to do with Trump basically having a coup on the country by protesting the election results, 100% legal and lawful. Well, of course, NARA, the National Archives, okay, set up this raid at Mar-a-Lago by sending unrequested boxes full of documents to Mar-a-Lago. And of course, what happened was that the FBI has come out recently, the Washington field office, and said, no, there was no probable cause. We absolutely, said so, that this was not, there's no probable cause, that the president has the right to have both declassified and classified documents at his home. There's no probable cause for this raid. And at Congress today, Jack Smith was looking very squirrely and kind of, a little crazed, but coming out very strongly that no, there was 100% reason that all the evidence was there that Trump tried to put a coup on the United States, when it, of course, is the exact opposite. And we also know that we've the same FBI members involved that were also involved in the Whitmer kidnapping hoax that is kind of looking a lot like whatever's gone down there in LA with this creation or fostering, shall we say, of the Order of the Black Lotus and the Turtle Island Liberation Front. But yeah, so all of that, the stage documents of the crime scene, none of that real, all of it. And of course, Chris Wray, who was testifying before Congress, basically the day before the raid was going to happen, he bailed out of Congress early, basically saying, I have a flight to catch. And Grassley was like, don't you have your own plane? You can leave when you want. And he's like, no, I have to go now. And where he was going was to meet with Merrick Garland and, of course, Lisa Monaco and Jack Smith to go ahead and sign off, not Jack Smith, excuse me, but Garland and Monaco, to sign off on this warrant to raid Mar-a-Lago. So very, very interesting. This is where we're at. And we're going to get off the video here so we can get ready to watch Trump's speech tonight, his address to the nation. Again, praying that there will be huge information here to do with the war on America by the globalist regime, and of course Venezuela's play on that, ownership of that software, their presence in our 2020 election, the laying out of that would be so amazing, and we pray for that. We pray for Trump's clarity and his very, very strong, centered, as President of the United States, to use his executive powers with God's armor and God's guidance. And so I'm going to leave it there. Thanks so much for watching. If you found new information in this video that you believe is helpful and helps advance your knowledge of what's going on, I would be so appreciative if you'd support the channel. There's ways to do so below. And of course, don't forget my fantastic sponsor, c60evo.com, with all the incredible holiday specials. And I think it's getting pretty tight here to get these in by Christmas, but it's perfect for the new year because this is, if you're wanting metabolic boosters, you know, all the new year resolutions we all come up with, or you want to just really clean out your mitochondria and get the garbage out of your body from the toxins, the shots, the sprays, all of it, and get yourself feeling clearer, feeling more energized, less painful, and or if you're fighting some of the big degenerative diseases, this product made in the best lab in the world in Houston, Texas, and created by the longest standing creator of carbon 60, which is so pure. It's called ESS 60 molecule because that's how it's used and named in all the studies that are done. And so check it out, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off, or just go to c60evo.com/YAFTV. You do need to go to that landing page to get the incredible holiday deals that if you're going forward into 2026 with your New Year's resolutions on your health regime, this or health regimen, it's a great time to stock up for the year with like 40% off deals, etc. Check it out below. Thanks so much for watching. Prayers galore. We are free, and we're in this fight. We put on God's armor and jump in. You are free. I'll see you tomorrow.